And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. New Jersey Governor Christie is speaking out against the legalization of marijuana. At a town hall in New Hampshire Tuesday, Christie said, and I quote, "If you're getting high in Colorado today, enjoy it. As of January 2017, I will enforce the federal laws." The outspoken governor stuck to his guns on Fox and Friends this morning as well.
You take an oath of office, Brian. I take one as governor. I will take one as president that says that you'll enforce the laws, not just enforce the laws you like, you'll enforce the laws. And marijuana is against the law in the United States, and it should be enforced in all 50 states.
And Christie isn't particularly worried about losing the youth vote over this either.
I don't think you lose voters by telling them you'll enforce the law. If a large percentage of the people in this country want to legalize marijuana, then I assume that what will happen is Congress will go ahead and legalize it. But you cannot have it both ways. You can't have it where it's a law on the books and it's against the law, and then you selectively enforce it in certain places.
So the latest Monmouth University poll has Christie in 8th place with just 4% of the vote. Joe, I got to ask you a question. I mean, Governor Christie, I ask all of you, he is running for the Republican nomination, am I correct?
Yes.
And isn't it fairly traditional for Republicans to take the point of view of states taking the lead in these sorts of issues?
No, what he's...
Why is Christie saying to the states, even though you voted this in or your legislature passed it, I'm coming to get you?
Because I remember Democrats having a problem with nullification. What we've seen in this executive is an executive who does not enforce law, who chooses laws that he wants to enforce. No, we're talking about the presidency. What we're talking about here is a series of precedents that have been set by this president that are very dangerous.
And
that have to do with what laws he wants to enforce and what laws he doesn't want to enforce. Chris Christie has a great record on drugs. He has been a champion for drug sentencing enforcement since he's been in this office. He is a treatment, not prison guy, and he's really good on this. And politically, he's telling swing voters, I'm going to take something away from you. That's a terrible political argument. It's also an extraordinarily principled argument, and he should be commended for it.
It's also totally interfering with what Chris Christie would say are at the heart of his fundamental beliefs: states' rights. Marijuana. Let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. Marijuana falls under health, safety, and general welfare. Correct? I don't know how you could argue otherwise. So that is something specifically reserved to the states, Heather, not to the federal government.
But now that you've got two conflicting laws, the federal government already has the law, and it can't be state by state. Now you've got interstate commerce. It is just like sanctuary cities, which is the other thing that he brought into this argument. And I think it's a good point, and I agree with you, Noah, that it's dangerous where you've got 53% of the population wanting it legalized, 39% of Republicans. At the same time, when he talks about the sanctuary cities and saying, change the law then, my job is to enforce the law, and people want our laws to be enforced. They want a president, to Noah's point, who's going to enforce the laws.
Well, I'm guessing that there's not a majority of people, as you both kind of pointed out, that want to enforce this particular law.
They want this.
So, Joe, is the answer here to get rid of the federal laws on marijuana and stick to your conservative beliefs that this is a state issue and they should make the call, and if Colorado wants to legalize pot, up to Colorado?
I believe in states' rights in this situation. I think Colorado and Washington have shown the revenue that's been produced in these situations have been good for those states.
Not to mention really happy people.
Yeah. Just from a moral perspective, people that smoke weed on a daily basis aren't very productive members of society. I think overall it has a harmful effect.
And people who drink all day aren't particularly productive either, are they?
No, I get that. So why put one more thing out there that can make this country less productive?
Well,
that's where I have a problem. And by the way, you're making the roads less and less safe.
By the way, isn't that government being the nanny state when you make the point, why put one more thing out there? Shouldn't it be up to people to decide themselves?
I absolutely believe that. I think there's a real contradiction in the nature of our intoxication laws and what laws we choose to enforce and what laws we don't choose to enforce, and what substances we proscribe and what ones we don't really have a problem with, or activities for that matter. You could say precisely the same thing about productivity, about internet pornography. There's really no limiting principle there. It doesn't really make any sense.
Apparently.
Congress should absolutely change federal drug laws. They should allow states to regulate and legalize this as they see fit based on referendum. Until they do, there is a federal law prohibiting this, and right now it's not being enforced, and that's not the job of the executive.
That's right. There you go.
And Rick, this is what
you're all wrong. I'm sorry.
This is the Trump effect, also, by the way. Christie's trying to find an issue that gets him some oxygen, and this worked just like it did with Huckabee and the Iran deal.
I think that's right.
He's, by the way, personally very opposed to marijuana use. He really genuinely doesn't like it.
Right, and it's not the right issue. I mean, if you compare, Colorado governor came out and said that they are doing much better. I think that they were in the CNBC poll were number 7 for businesses as opposed to New Jersey, which was 42. So it's not an issue that's going to do a whole lot of good for Chris Christie, but I think that he's trying to just distract from Trump at this point.
Would you legalize it if you were a governor?
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
Why?
Because I think that all of Joe's points are good. I think that there's a lot of arguments. The DEA has a whole memo about it, that of all the harm that it can bring, that we sort of gloss over when we have this conversation.
Would you then take away alcohol too? Because there's similar memos.
I mean, we'd have to. I mean, it's more than we can talk about in the next 10 seconds.
Well, yeah, but
I would not.
That would close down Heather's Beach House. Like
the point. Yeah, the point is, I don't know why one's okay and not the other. Do you agree with Governor Christie's position on marijuana? If so, weigh in at newsmaxtv.com/comments and let us know. I'll be reading those comments with great interest. Up next, we're going to read some of your viewer comments, so don't go anywhere.